Jasper Kehoe does not have a lot of free time.
So I became a wildland firefighter about 3 years ago.
The 22-year-old is a part-time wildland firefighter in Larimer County, a fire medic in the summers, and, oh, by the way, a college student at CSU.
So I'm a biomedical science student with a concentration in anatomy and physiology at Colorado State University.
That's him in the lab with Assistant Professor Luke Montrose, who is leading a study about how wildfire smoke could affect the reproductive health of male firefighters.
With wildfires increasing, the question was coming out of the wildland firefighters themselves, asking, what are the risks to my health? And more specifically, what are the risks to my ability to have a family later on?
Personally, after I get off a fire, it's not uncommon for me to be coughing up black soot for days at a time.
They've recruited 44 firefighters already, 28 from Colorado, and still looking for more.
We're looking really at two main things. We're looking at the concentration of the sperm and the motility. So how well are they moving?
No trips to a clinic or a lab required. These firefighters will get an easy at-home test kit that privately collects sperm samples and sends in the data remotely. Researchers will take a baseline at the start of the wildfire season and then watch for changes throughout the year.
And that story will be very important to relay to firefighters to help them understand how to do family planning and understand perhaps when the best chance of them being fertile would be, so that they can understand what impacts their job has and how to sort of navigate those impacts.
Risk and sacrifice, it's part of any firefighter's job. But family, that matters too.
It's kind of the nature of the job, but at the same time, we want to protect our firefighters as much as we can.
So they're still recruiting for this study if you're interested. They don't have any data points yet, but the professor, Luke, that's the lead on this research, says they have already seen an impact on mice and cattle in some of his prior research. So knowing that smoke has an impact, they're really curious to see what that'll mean for the humans in the study now.
And it makes sense, right? But to have data now support that. I mean, you're a new mom, and I'm sure your doctors warned you, do not get near any type of smoke, right? That inhalation can hurt the fetus.
Yes, we don't know yet what this means for these men, but I can remember in pregnancy, perhaps you guys do too, even like we needed fertility treatments to have babies, and I remember in those, the pre stuff, they're like, don't touch cigarette smoke, don't go anywhere near marijuana smoke, stay away from fire smoke. Like, smoke we know is not good for us. But it'd be really curious to have some sort of way to calculate that in men specifically. So
yeah, are they looking at overall what this means for the fertility of like women? I mean, is this going to affect everything?
So right now they're going to hyper focus on male firefighters, because most firefighters that we see out on those front lines are guys, right? It's just a sample study they can start with. But they figure, here's somebody who sees the most smoke, right? Like the biggest amount of exposure. And what's interesting, they can test the beginning of the season, not a lot of smoke exposure after the wintertime, then the heaviest smoke exposure in the middle of the year, and see how it ebbs and flows too. Maybe it's better to try to have babies in off season if you're a firefighter, which could teach us something about the rest of us.
Are they going to, last question, sorry, I think this is this is an important topic. What about their offspring? Will it affect their offspring? You and I talked about a separate issue earlier today. Yeah.
So right now they're looking at the sperm mobility, what's happening. But one of the things they want us to do, so that's the at-home testing, but then you can send it into a bigger lab, and they want to see, is there some sort of something that happens with our DNA? If you're a firefighter dad, does that show up potentially in your kiddo's DNA later? Right. So it's a question they want to answer. We won't know that right away, but certainly interesting, right?
Very
What if we know that that's
Incredibly
true?
interesting.
Yep. Jennifer Meckles, thank you.